Shut up and sit down.
Boom. Welcome, everybody, to the Couch Live. I'm the street certified dope doctor, Louis Delgado, here on the Couch Live. Here, of course, on WOKB AM 1680 in the Central Florida area. And I think they also have 100.7, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken, 100.7 FM in the Central Florida area. Hello, everybody. It's good to be here with you. The show's been on since 1999. The Couch Live has been on since 1999, and we continue to this day. Thank you very much for Orange County for all that you do man, they helped us get created, actually, and continue to be supportive to our network here. We talk about behavioral health care. We talk about addiction and recovery and all things in between there. And I got a pretty special person I want to introduce you guys to today that's going to help me do the show today. Her name is JoJo. So let me just go ahead and bring her on. Hey, JoJo. Hey, JoJo.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing
nice
fantastic.
to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, let me thank you very much for coming. I've known you for many years. I don't even know the year I met you, JoJo, but it was a lot of years ago.
13.
13 years? Yeah, wow. Okay.
2013.
2013. All right. Well, that is about okay. That's quite a long time ago. But here's the thing that always impressed me about you. First of all, I loved your story. I like your backstory, and that's a topic for another day. Whatever you're willing to share about your backstory. But I love it. Second, I love the way you interacted with our patients at the facility I met you at. I was there. I was brought in as a consultant to an organization to help grow it and build it bigger and go obtain some contracts. And we were doing that. And in the midst of doing that, I met you and found you to be just awesome in regards to your abilities, your interaction with people, the way that they responded to you. I really liked it. So we stayed in contact, and I've known you throughout your career, and now you have a new organization. Yes. So even though that's a topic for another day, I mean, we're actually going to get into mobile clinics today. But can you quickly tell us what Limitless is? Because you have it right there. So you might as well tell us what that is and who you are that way.
Okay, so this is my IG. Let's just say that. And okay. I am fortunate and blessed to say that I opened up my own counseling agency for mental health and substance abuse. We are called the Limitless and Infinite Transformation. We are a nonprofit organization, and we also provide services whether you have insurance or not. We have a no doors closed program because I believe that regardless of your status quo or the money that you have or do not have, everyone deserves good treatment. And sometimes there are, I don't want to say, when you have Medicare or no insurance, you don't get the top or the best quality of care. And so right. I believe that we all deserve that. And so that is indeed one of my missions. So I didn't even add, we do have a contract with Problem Solving Courts too, which has been a true blessing to work with the courts. And so we do have some court ordered clients who enter into mental health court, and we work with them too. So
awesome.
That's a little bit.
No, I love it. And the name, did you do that on purpose to have the acronym LIT? Was that the intent there?
No, actually,
that was an accident?
Someone told me. Yeah, someone was like, "Oh, you're lit," and I'm like, "Oh, yes, we are lit. Come on, somebody." So yes, that's
right.
Pretty dope.
I thought for sure you were going to say yes on that, but okay. That's awesome.
Mm-mm.
All right. So today, in line with what you're talking about, bringing healthcare affordable, making sure that people can get to it, have it. Is it the same quality healthcare as the attorney down the road gets, that kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
I got another friend of mine coming on today, Dr. Bhavin Patel. He's a person I've also known for quite a few years. And he's one of these guys, I know you know of him. But for the people out there, he's a healthcare innovator, right? So like what I would call an innovator, somebody who's very creative, comes up with different ideas, how to bring healthcare to the people, how to make it affordable. He's a primary care entrepreneur. if those words go together, that those fit for him. And so the reason I'm having him on is because I've seen him recently with these mobile clinics, and I know they're becoming very popular, Jojo. So I wanted to be able to talk about them. I mean, there's people out on the, especially here in the Central Florida area, whether it be Brevard, whether it be Seminole County, Orange County, Volusia County. I mean, what, Osceola? Let me not forget you, Osceola. Sorry about that. Lake County, all these counties, I know they're driving around because I see them. I know some of them are well. There's private ones. So I just wanted him to come on and talk about them so that people get a better understanding of it. So let's just bring him on. All right. So here's Dr. Bhavin Patel. Oh, look at that. How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Now make sure that whiteboard doesn't have anything secretive entrepreneur.
No, it doesn't.
You don't want us to take one of your entrepreneur ideas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me on.
Fantastic. All right. So you are the co-founder and administrator of Walk On Clinics, for one, right? So
Correct.
So obviously we've been seeing a lot of this, Dr. Patel, everywhere. I know I see them parked in certain parking areas. I think I even told you before about there was a dental one that I saw, and I was wondering, do people think that they get the same care in a mobile unit as they would in a place? And we're going to get to that. But first, I want you to kind of give us like the explosion of this. Where did it come from? How come all of a sudden I'm seeing mobile clinics everywhere?
Actually, it's not a new thing. In the
It's not?
1970, Advent Health was actually it's the largest hospital system in Florida, one of the big boys, right? And if you look back at their pictures, they had a trailer back in the day because they were trying to figure out how to get access to care. And so, that's our problem in this country, is getting access and time, right? It's primary care takes 6 months. Some people are out like 6 weeks to 6 months. Panels are closed, right? And so think about it. If your employer is offering primary care and you don't have to clock out, we were like, this is a great way to give primary care to employer groups. Offering primary care and you don't have to clock out. We were like, this is a great way to give primary care.
I hear you twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird.
That's why I stopped there.
That's okay. Keep going.
Yeah, so we wanted to give that direct primary care concierge experience to employer groups, and this allowed us to do it at a fraction of the cost. And so during COVID, we saw an explosion of mobile healthcare companies that came out of the woodworks. And it's because the brick and mortar costs went up, doors were closed. This is a way to go directly to the patients and care for them. And so we saw them at COVID testing sites, COVID vaccine sites. Hospitals started acquiring them. Nonprofits have been using these vehicles for a long time too.
Right. So stop there for a second, because that's exactly the way I have seen the nonprofits use them. Right. And then we saw the big red bus. Everybody knows the big red bus, right? You see that, they want my blood. Right. Yeah. But I've never, I guess maybe it's me. I don't know, Jojo, you ever see one that you just figure, I need a doctor's appointment, let me just walk into this? I mean, have you seen one like that?
I have seen the mobile vans,
right?
Buses,
right?
And so I'm always curious to know. Some of them are specific, so you can do drug testing, HIV testing, and things like that. And then you were talking about the dental van. Are they specific? Is one of the questions that I have to a certain limited health. So, for example, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna go with the women, right? I'm a woman. Yeah. Can I go on there and get a pap smear?
Yeah. So there are vehicles that are tailored for OB/GYN. There are mobile units that are tailored for emergency room, and they're actually for disasters that we've used in Fort Myers during the hurricane. There are
Wow.
ones that we've made for mental health, just for counseling or outreach. We have ones that are for dermatology that expand out where they do Mohs surgery. So these are the same providers same provider, same care that you get in any practice. It's on wheels and it's brought to you. And it depends on how that business entity was set up to be able, whether it was a nonprofit, whether it takes insurance fee for service, or if it's self-funded or capitated. So we can, or cash, right? Cash model. So
Right.
all of the models it can sustain. It's a question of, what's your budget? What's your project scope? We can build it out or consult for any of those type of specialties.
So when you said we, so one of the things that you do is you actually help create these buses, or what do you call them? What's the best way to call them? Do I call them buses? What do I call them?
They're
Mobile
mobile
units?
mobile units. We call them
Okay.
mobile.
All right.
Yeah,
All
mobile
right.
units.
So you help create these or build these?
Yeah, so we were using them for our own use cases because we go to employer groups and we do their primary care. But
Right.
we were asked by certain nonprofits to help build out because they were spending, $750,000 to $1 million on these nice yacht looking, units. And so we told them that there's a more affordable way of doing it where our price point's $250,000 and you're able to manage these units a lot easier by swapping generators out, swapping mini split. We figured it out from a business standpoint because when are you going to see a return on your investment? And
Right.
so for nonprofits, what that does is now if you're spending $250,000 versus 750, that leaves you a $500,000 for operations because people forget you need money to operate too. So you got to, so people buy these big expensive vehicles and then
Mhm.
they run out of their budget, right, for nonprofits. So in
Right.
this situation, now you got a $500,000 to get providers, medications, maintenance, right? So it allows you to operate maybe longer, 2, 3 years longer than what you thought. And also some of these more expensive ones, they take longer to build. So if
Mhm.
you're trying, it may take a year or two, while ours takes 3 months or less, right? So then you're able to help the community quicker on your project.
See, I know JoJo's listening because JoJo's business is a nonprofit, and I know she's listening. She knows how much she pays for rent and
Mhm.
all that stuff. So, how affordable is it to the nonprofit or to the business that wants to take it to the people?
Yeah, I mean, you can get a 3 bedroom trailer, 4 bedroom trailer. You can customize it how you want, and we can get it out as quick as, like within 6 weeks to 3 months.
But
Wow. So
is it? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
no, I was just curious to know, and you might have answered this in a doctoral way. But what makes you so different? Why you can push these out quicker than the typical organization?
Because we control the manufacturing process ourselves, so we control the process. We went ahead and we procured everything and aligned ourselves with the right players because we were building these for ourselves. And so during COVID I couldn't rely on other people.
Hmm.
And so I needed to go from one trailer to 6 trailers, you know what I mean? And so I went
Hmm.
from 1 unit to 6 units versus relying on somebody, right? And so we were making our own doors because during COVID you couldn't find doors, like literally, you couldn't
Right.
get it from China. So we were able to cut the doors ourselves and put them on.
Wow. I just think it's
Awesome.
fascinating, to be honest with you. It's weird how COVID kind of has reshaped so much. I mean, the whole way we're able to do the radio show and we're all in 3 different areas right now in BC is because
Hmm.
of COVID. I mean, I used to have to go into the radio station to do this show, and since COVID, I send them the audio and boom, we're there on radio instead of me having to be in the studio, which I just think there's so many things. So in healthcare, it also changed it.
Also, I
Like
want to
you're
talk
saying.
about
Absolutely.
access again. So like when I was talking about when you go to a traditional doctor's office, there's a 6 week wait. Also, average, you see them 2.8 times a year, right? Because it's so
Right.
hard for people to get in.
Right.
When you bring something on site, now you can touch that life more often. Every week they can come to the trailer and talk to the doc in the box, and so they're actually getting better care because you're getting more touches, more educational touches. You're getting, on-site dispensing of medication. You're getting, you could telemedicine the behavioral health inside there with, set up another appointment within there. So referrals, navigation, steerage, all becomes better, right? And again, the employee doesn't clock out.
Right. Well, you
I
answered
love
one.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. I just jump on.
You
I'm so
jump.
sorry. I do. So you said something so important to me that I think others would like to hear and know. I'm speaking for everyone. I think it's awesome because I'm so sick and tired of calling the doctor's office and they have the audacity to give me an appointment 2, 3, 6 weeks out and I have the flu or I have a cold and the only other option is go to Central Care, And so this sounds amazing.
Yeah, we don't want to hear that. We want you to come in. We want to take care of you. We don't want you to go to the urgent care. We don't want you to go to the ER. We want you to be on site, take care of it. We want you to get back healthier, spend more time with your family, and be able to get back to work quicker.
Now
So
that's
two
what I'm
things.
talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Get back to work quicker because
And think
it's
about
not
it,
like
no
we have unlimited
deductible.
PTO time.
No deductible, no copay because the employer that's self-funded is paying it on the behalf of it. So you don't have to bring your driver's license and insurance. I don't have to run eligibility and verification. When I work with self-funded employer groups, they're paying for your primary care. They carved it out. And so now that employee comes in, checks in, does the consents. We give them typical doctor assessment, and we send out the prescriptions. And if we have the prescriptions on site, we'll dispense on site.
All right, let's talk about that
Wow.
part for a second because you're saying you have some medication on the bus. So, so the dope doctor in me wants to know: do you have narcotics on these buses? I mean, are these you have to have like security on these buses to make sure nobody,
So there are no controlled substances on our business model. However, I'm working with a nonprofit currently that is trying to figure out how to do induction for Suboxone for homeless people.
Right.
And so in that situation, you would need a lockbox with 2 locks. You would need, all the 2 signatures and all that good stuff. But currently, we're trying to find, making sure that we get the blessings of the DEA, local, state, right, regs.
Right.
We have to look into all of that. But we're looking into that. And we would only keep, if so, enough for induction. We wouldn't be keeping enough like for 30-day supply.
Right. So it's probably not worth the felony, people. Not worth the felony if you're only going to get like 1 day's worth, is what you're saying. I got you. So you said telemedicine as well, and obviously I'm in the telehealth business. So on these doc in a boxes that you're calling, which I like that term, doc in a box. It sounds like something that you probably patented. So I'm probably going to owe you money just for saying the word doc in a box. You probably own that. But if not, somebody just bought it, docinabox.com. But for this doc in a box, is that telehealth or is there a PA, a nurse practitioner, a doctor? Like who's in the, or I guess it's different for everyone, right?
Yeah, so it depends on like on-spot dermatology. They're a mobile dermatology group. They have dermatologists that are board certified. They have Mohs surgeons. And ours, we have MDs, DOs, PAs, nurse practitioners, RNs, you name it, depending on the use case and what scope.
So if you did it like that, it seems like you can like rotate, like the same bus can be for these different types of practices, right? I mean, I'm not so sure how much you can't do your pap smear telehealth wise. I'm sorry, can't do that part. Nope, that'd be a little difficult. But you can do behavioral health telehealth.
Yeah,
Well,
it depends. It depends on if you're in the fee for service world and insurance contracts. If you have them, in those situations, those mobile assets have to be credentialed and contracted and operate separately. If it's self-pay or self-funded, then they can rent the space and use it like Airbnb kind of. Yeah.
Right. JoJo has an idea. I saw her head going.
I represent
units
for the ladies.
Yeah. Represent the ladies. Go ahead.
Our telemedicine, back to that, we actually use a company called West Networks, and they have a PepLink router and the router allows you to have triple redundancy. So we have like, if you put in any SIM card you want, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Starlink, or you can even have your regular internet go through there. But basically it merges 4 different carriers into one. So if they're, depending on where you're located, it will pick up that cellular plan that's best. So if one drops, you'd lose nothing because it'll pick it up. So there's no pocket data loss.
Go ahead, Jojo.
Oh, so I know I've asked about the pap smears, but in general, right? Since you all have mobile units, is it one of those things where there's a schedule like Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, we're at this location? Or do you stand still because a lot of appointments with medical, you don't get the full results on one session? So how do we, so to speak, get that follow-up appointment? Do we chase you down or do you chase us down? Like, how does that work?
So usually when we have a contract with an employer group, we're there, every Monday or twice a week, or, we have a set schedule. And that schedule then has a QR code scheduler. They can come in, they can call, and then we'll be back. Then we have clientels that are twice a month. So they know when we are, but they also have access to our email, phone, and that we can do a tele, quick tele on that one. Now, if you're using it for community purposes or a nonprofit, sometimes that's a different use case. They're just going out to the community, education, and that. I'm just letting you know my specific use case.
Right.
But everybody's use case is different.
So, like, let's say I see your clinic. I see but I'm not an employee at that business that you have that agreement with. Does that mean that I cannot go to that particular unit? I'm talking about yours specifically at the moment.
Correct. Walk-on clinic specifically will have to contract with those employer groups.
Okay.
And so then we make custom schedulers for, let's say, I'm making it up, but Coca-Cola will have its own QR code website, and they'll only see their employees. It's a custom experience for their employees, basically.
Man, it sounds like a great deal. Like these companies, it sounds like it's cost effective for them. It shows that they actually care about their employees. And we do know the data supports that if you keep your people healthy and having preventative medicine, they tend to not call off sick as often, right? It keeps them going. So all that sounds pretty good. I like all that. What about price point, like for these services that you say, like you said, that's that you could pay cash. Insurance does insurance pay differently? Because I know my insurance plans pay differently when you're emergency care. Like if you go to the emergency room, it's one thing. If you go to a primary care, it's another thing. If you go to a typical, like she said, center care kind of place, urgent care kind of place, it's a certain price point. What about mobile units? Do you guys have special pricing?
Yeah. So same thing. It depends on what you're credentialed and contracted that unit as. And so if it's a dermatology office, you'll pay a specialty copay. If it's primary care, you would pay a primary care copay. But now, if you're self-funded, the employer is paying on the behalf of the payer. In that scenario, they're paying walk-on clinic directly. So then the employee doesn't have to have a deductible or copay when they're visiting that trailer.
Huh. Okay. And is it similar to concierge service? Because like one of my daughters, she actually has like concierge plan with a physician. It's similar to that.
Yes. This is a fractionalized DPC concierge experience for the employee, basically, that the employer is paying on their behalf.
Okay. So you obviously know that I have a medical business and we do telehealth. That's our primary model. So are you saying that, like, let's say we wanted a mobile unit? We're still going to do telehealth, but we want a mobile unit and we want to park it in different places. You're saying that that's an actual business model that we could entertain. Any medical practice out there could entertain, like communicating with you and says, look, I want to just be able to not only just be in Sanford, I want to be in Orlando one day. I want to be in a different county another day. But instead of investing in bricks and mortar in those counties, not knowing if there's going to be a good response to our services, I get a mobile unit and then I can test out different markets to see if we like a place. You're saying
Yes, you
that's a
could. You
possible,
got
that's
to
a
just
deal.
make sure that you have a medical director in there, that geography within that, the certain, miles. Make sure that you reach out to all your insurance contracts and let them know. And then you may have to add the site of service 99 mobile, right? And make sure you get paid for that site of service. And then make sure that your trailer is registered if you're doing any CLIA waived laboratory, right? If you're doing your own drug screens, you got to make sure you have a CLIA waiver. So
Mhm.
you still got to make sure that your units are passing all of those,
Wow.
check marks.
It sounds like you do consulting along with the selling of the mobile units, or is that a free add-on service, or is that an additional payment right there?
Usually we like to just give you the trailer and move on because we're busy, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
But we've been asked a lot to consult, and
Well, I would think.
we've not been entertained it yet. Because we're so busy with just servicing our own clients and growing
Right,
our own business. But
right.
yes, I have been.
Well, maybe like a frequently asked questions that you can like
Yeah.
provide with it, because even right there, what you said, I wrote it down. Site of service 99. I have no idea what that is. I don't know. Is that a billing code? I don't know. It's like I got to go to the billing service and go, do you know what this is? But I'm assuming there's a lot of billing services that have never billed out this type of service, so they may not even know what you know. I mean, there's a lot of
Right.
stuff that that's pretty valuable. And I'm guessing, again, we're on WOKB 1680 right here in Central Florida and 100.7 FM here in Central Florida. There's probably a lot of practitioners that would like to service the community where this radio station is actually heard, and probably don't know how to service this community, or where they would set up shop. So I guess I'm just kind of thinking outside the box here, because I'm also an entrepreneur like you, and I'm thinking, well, how can you bring in a medical practitioner, or bring in different medical practitioners to service a certain community without making a year-long commitment or a 3-year commitment to a lease? You know what I mean? Because I don't know what's going to work. I don't know if, I'm not going to say certain street names, but I don't know if certain intersections are going to work more than other intersections. And I don't know what it's going to cost to be at some of these intersections or
Yeah.
some of these places.
Another trick also to do what you're doing if you don't have the
Mhm.
trailer asset is you
Right.
find other providers that will sublease for you. So
Okay.
you go to someone that will give you 1 or 2 rooms,
Hmm.
and then you can test the market in that area. So then you build up your if you see clientele building up, then you're like, okay, this is a good area. Let's go ahead and find a space.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, man. Well, I definitely like the way you think, and I like what you've created. I'm interested in these things, and I know that we use them here in Central Florida. I'd be a horrible person if I don't support Orange County and their efforts, being that they're one of our sponsors and big supporters. But Orange County is using these for behavioral health, and they want to do this for MAT services, like you said. So they want to go out for medication assisted treatment and provide. Um, service to, whether it be a homeless population, whether it be just getting closer to where people are. And I do know that pharmacy angle that's the most difficult thing.
Yeah,
Because one thing is giving them, a script, right? One thing is saying, yes, I'm going to put you on
yeah,
this medication. But then the other thing is, but then how do I do that first induction? How do I get you on it? So then,
yeah,
I can, well, instead
yeah.
of,
There's chain of
people would
custody
call.
that with those medications, and it
Yeah.
makes it a little bit more tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. So like the therapy route, now that's a lot easier. The
Yeah,
JoJos of the world, they're going to sit down with you and
yeah,
communicate with you and walk you through something. I think that's a lot easier space. I think once you get into some of the more complicated medications or controlled substances, it just makes it a little bit more, not impossible. I like what you're
yeah.
saying. It's not impossible. That's the future. That's where we're going,
Mhm.
you
I mean,
know?
I'll tell you during the hurricane,
Mhm.
in Fort Myers, it got leveled, and one of the ask of one of the vendors was, "How do we get controlled?"
Right.
Walgreens, CVS couldn't figure it out. I made a phone call to my friend that was a pharmacist in Brooksville, and
Mhm.
Gotham and Tucker, and he got that. He called the DEA, sat on the phone, and asked them all the questions, blah blah blah, and just took the time, energy, and effort, and within 48 hours got the mall. There's a mall that they turned into a hospital, and got the mall registered as a DEA site, and that they drop ship the medication there. So I think that if you have the right people that are
Right.
collectively putting in the effort and energy and heart
Mhm.
into helping people, you can get things done. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Well, there was some interesting news going on right before we went on air today. It looked like Donald Trump was dropping some news about pharmaceutical prices, I guess. So
Yeah.
hopefully we continue to move in a direction where healthcare kind of gets affordable. I mean, it's pretty expensive, and there's a lot of people out there living without healthcare right now, brother. I mean, healthcare is not cheap.
No.
That was one of my questions, and maybe Dr. Patel, everyone is different, I know, but I'm curious to know how much money would be coming out of my check for services. Do you know, like, an average? Because depending on the employer, if you work for county or the state, the money that comes out the check is still phenomenal. But you also have these small organizations where to take out money out of the check from healthcare is practically half their entire check. So have you heard or learned how, on average, what are they taking out of our checks for to have medical care on the mobile unit?
So it's the same thing. So plans range from $150 a month to upwards to $1,200 a month, depending on who you are, your demographics, and that, right? And the employer, certain sizes are required to pitch in, and usually that pitch in is 50%. And they don't have, so 50% of that premium then gets taken out of your check. Now, if they're paying for 100% of it, you know what I mean? So you just have to do the math on that basis, you know what I mean? So that doesn't really change. That's really up to the plan that you're buying, and that how much the employer is willing to contribute in that plan will ultimately affect your paycheck. But this is where a company that cares about healthcare and for their employees, when they go self-funded, and they're truly self-funded, not through a traditional carrier like a BUCA plan, a Blue Cross United Cigna, but they actually have their own insurance with their own company logo on it through a TPA. That's when you can really help your employees. That's when you can really get better rates for your employees, and you can do a lot more.
And are you finding insurance carriers good with this? I mean, are any pushback from insurance carriers?
So, obviously they don't like what we do, because
Right.
we play
Taking
along
over.
nicely with them. Yeah. I'll just say that.
Oh, okay. Well, you're very diplomatic. I like that.
I'll say it. Taking over. I'll say it. You're taking over.
Yeah.
It reminds me, am I wrong it reminds me of like the Little House on the Prairie kind of doc, you know what I mean? Like with the doctor bag coming to your house. It kind of seems like it's going back to, let me bring it to you rather than making you come to me. I mean, you're sick. I mean, you're not well. You may not want to drive and wait in a waiting room for blankety blank amount of hours. You know what I mean? Like, I hate having to be sick to go to a place to be around more sick people that I don't want to be around. I just do.
Yeah, I mean, people in Naples are paying $7,000 to $10,000 a year on top of their Medicare that they're getting, right, or their insurance for concierge. And so they're getting 24/7 access to a really good MD or DO, and so how do we give that for the blue collar workers, right? How do we give that same experience? And people that have two jobs, right? And so Walk On Clinic is there to help people that are working all day in the manufacturing, boating, you name it, the warehouses.
My daughter almost has me convinced going to concierge, to be honest with you, because when she went, she said the services she got, the communication, the time she spent with the doctor was just so much more than other places. And then she got cut cost on testing and blood work and all the stuff that you think, oh, well, what about the blood work? Well, what about the scans? And no, man, she got good deals on all that. I mean, it seems like the reimagining, if we can use the word reimagine without turning into a political fight, this is where we need to reimagine people. This is where it needs to be. The reimagining needs to take place in healthcare, kind of seeing like, how can we become a healthier nation and provide people the care that they need? And for those of you thinking, well, I don't want to pay for someone else's services, you're going to anyway. You're going to anyway, because there's, if I want to go to the doctor right now, if I want to go to the emergency room and they're not going to turn me away. They're going to see me. And if I don't want to pay my bill, I'm just not going to pay it. What are they really going to do? Nothing. And if I don't care about, first of all, I don't even think it hits your credit, but there's a lot of people that don't really care about their credit anyway, but I don't even think healthcare costs hit your credit. So there's a lot of people that just aren't paying. Well, guess who's paying? All the rest of us that are paying and do feel like, it's the right thing to do. And I have to pay my prices. So we need to reimagine it anyway, because there's a lot of people just by not getting, I guess, preventative care, by not going to the doctor on a regular basis. It's just more expensive in the long run, and it's shortening your life. It's just shortening your life.
Yep.
So I like what you're doing. So what's your final kind of pitch on this in regards to what do you want to say to the other docs out there that are maybe not as forward thinking as you, or maybe they just didn't know how to go out and just kind of create it and do it? How can they get in touch with you? What would you like to tell them? How do you want to grow? How can you help them grow? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a leap of faith. You gotta you got to get out of that mindset. Like, everybody's just used to their salary. They're used to working for a large system. And if you really want to practice medicine and help people, this allows you to, practice on a whole different way. Because now instead of having 2,500 people in your panel, you're only managing 300 to 450 people. But those 450 people, you're doing better service to, better quality of care, and really, really helping them, change their habits, be on top of their medications. And so, like you said, the concierge experience is phenomenal. I myself haven't done it, but I hear it from all the patients.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think that's the movement that we're going in, and I hope it does stay that way, because I think it's a great thing for healthcare. And you can find me at walkonclinic.com. My email is bpatel@walkonclinic.com. And if you're giving good patient care and you're doing the right things, the money will follow. Is what I say. Do good, give good care. Yeah, it's not all about money.
Right. And what you could also help them with, again, you can help any medical practitioner out there that's seeking to how to get into the mobile unit business, to understand it for themselves, to see if it's a movement that they would like to do, to contact you at walkonclinic.com. They can get, is there a contact?
B Patel at walkonclinic. Yep. At walkonclinic.com. And our website's walkonclinic.com.
Perfect. Well, listen, Dr. Patel, thank you very much. Jojo, stay here with me. Dr. Patel, thank you very much for what you do and how you do it. And by the way, I also want to thank you very much. Walk On Clinic is always a good supporter, and for our yearly golf tournament. You haven't won it yet, but just have faith, Dr. Patel. One of these days, you might win that golf tournament.
We got fourth. We got fourth. We were tied for fourth.
You were there. You're getting closer and closer.
Getting closer.
Yeah,
bringing the right people. That's the key.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Bringing the right ringer works, and then you've gotten better yourself. You're not a bad golfer, so that's great. So anyway, thank you very much for all you do to support the Now Matters More Foundation and the golf tournament as well. So I wanted to thank you for that. All right.
Thank you for what you do too.
All right. Have a great one, brother. Thank you very much. All right. That was Dr. Patel. Yeah. So not a bad thing, huh, Jojo? I mean, when you think about it,
honestly, I like it. I was thinking about saving, a buck, because who doesn't want to save a buck for healthcare?
Right.
But it makes sense even if your premium does not change, the quality of care, like I was sharing initially, like having to wait 2, 3, 6 weeks to get an appointment, that is a huge benefit for healthcare. So I'm loving it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the whole idea. Seeing from me, from having to sign leases that I have to commit. Like when we moved into Sanford, I had to commit 3-year lease, to a place. And you signed one right there in Orlando. I mean, when you sign that lease, you're thinking, "Woo! I hope this business flies here, because if it doesn't, I'm kind of stuck here, buying myself out of this lease."
And they still want their money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Well, at least with the mobile unit, it's yours. It's yours on wheels.
Yeah. I really like, worst case scenario, you just turn into an RV, you live in it. Makes no money as a business, you can live in it. If you
I
lose your
said,
home in your business, it becomes your
right,
home.
right.
I
I
love it.
want one.
And then you should see the pictures that this guy sent me of the units though. I mean, you should see the pictures of he's not joking around. These things are phenomenal, Jojo. I mean, they're nice.
I want to see. And the fact that he said, how much time it takes him to actually build one.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy to me. It's quicker than building a house.
Oh yeah, a lot more.
A lot quicker, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, look, we have mobile units here in Orange County for those people in the Orange County area that are listening to this. Obviously people that watch, hear it later on a podcast or something like that, they're not here in Central Florida and they don't really care about us here in Central Florida. I get you. No big deal. But this is for the people that are listening and watching maybe on the radio station at WOKB 1680 AM and, of course, 100.7 FM in Central Florida. Orange County has mobile units. And Mayor Demings has been very forward thinking on this and real supportive of it. Dr. Tom Hall through the Orange County Drug Free Office has done amazing work on making sure we have some mobile units going on. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about this, is to kind of let people know if they see these mobile units out there, this is what they're kind of doing. This is what their efforts are, is to bring it to you, especially in the behavioral health and substance use disorder field where we have so many people that are suffering addictions and stuff like that out there. We know where you're at sometimes. We know where a lot of you are congregated at. I mean, we want to bring services to you and kind of let you know you can get off. You don't have to live with this addiction anymore. You can accept the kind of help that we have. And Orange County has transportation services to treatment. They have transportation services to daily treatment if you need it. They have medical services. There's so much that people just don't know that their community tries to do to save lives. And so anywhere from the concierge service that Dr. Patel was just talking about, which obviously requires either a business or a person with some financial ability to pay, but all the way down to these municipalities that are creating mobile units, whether it be for behavioral health services or for even just primary care, bringing it to you. So it really doesn't matter, your financial ability.
I love too. They have these mobile units going into the homeless areas. And so, it's been a huge thing where you would find homeless individuals lined up at centers. And now they're pulling up, like you said, to where they reside and opening the door and say, hey, we want to help. And there's so many health problems, sadly, that homeless people do have. And so it made me think too, and they might have one. I wonder if there is, how like 211.
Yeah.
I wonder if there is a link that will tell you all of the mobile units that you can take advantage of. We're not talking about the specific ones for the employers, but the other ones in the community, whether the dental, the behavioral health. Wow, this location is on Mercy Drive on Tuesdays. This one is on Thursdays on Orange Avenue. I wonder if they have that out there, and if not, we definitely need it.
Well, maybe you need to go to docinthebox.com and see if it shows you that. Again, I'm pretty sure by the end of this show, someone bought that, docinthebox.com.
Doc in a Box.
Doc in a Box. I like that name. That was really cool. But yeah, you're right. You're right. Because you know how, look, my wife is a foodie. You know that. She loves her food. She loves good food. And oddly enough, she loves food trucks. Like, fancier food trucks than me. You know what I mean? Like, I like, I want a taco truck to really be a taco truck. But she'll eat at any kind of food truck, man. She just loves food truck. And that's a big thing, right? Where they park like 5 or 6 food trucks. But they have a thing like that. You can go online and find out where the food trucks are parked.
All right.
Yeah, so you're right. Exactly. I like the way you're thinking, JoJo. It's like, how can you give us the information of where that is? Because it might be in my neighborhood soon.
Exactly.
And if I knew it was going to be in my neighborhoods, that's right. And it makes me think about those specialties, like when you said earlier about OBGYN services. Like, what if you know that next month one of those are going to be close to you? I mean, maybe you've gone several years without going to a doctor and I really should go, but I can't get the time off. I can't really afford it. I don't have insurance right now. Who do I go to? I call the free clinic. They tell me, the appointment's like 3 months out.
Right.
I mean, I think you got yourself a good little idea there. Maybe 211 is the question though. Maybe they do know.
Right. Exactly.
And if they don't currently, maybe they need to know. Maybe they can inquire about it. I mean, they do receive public monies to be able to send us to wherever we need. So that's a question for 211. Maybe we need a representative from 211.
211, we're calling you out.
We need to call 211 and get them on the show then.
Let's call 211.
Yeah.
I lost my complete train of thought.
Well, I like doing that. I like distracting. Well, I thank you today for joining me to do this.
I had a wonderful time.
It's been a while.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's
a
been
lot.
a while.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's great. I never know what color hair you're gonna have when
I
see you
down.
again. It's a lot
toned it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that purposeful?
Now the color doesn't change. The color doesn't change. Just the length and the curl.
No, I could have swore there was some tip colors and changes. I could swear there was some color changes. I don't know if the color.
Going back to 2013 when I
think
had
I'm gonna have
white
to go to
blonde hair, Charlie Baltimore red.
Oh, you mean now the color doesn't change?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say because. Oh yeah. Yeah, because I've seen you with every color of hair. I thought you were trying to tell me that your colors haven't changed. I'm like, oh yeah, they did, JoJo.
I toned down a lot. It's funny because you like my black?
I like it all.
Yes, I like black.
I like all your looks.
I haven't been.
I think you always have a good look.
A little, thank you. But I've retired the platinum and red. Now watch one day for my birthday. You see me bust out with the platinum bond.
Yeah.
Just know it's for a purpose.
Yeah, you retire like an NBA player. You come back. So I don't believe your retirement, but that's okay. You can say you retired. I know who you are. A different season comes into play, and next thing you know, you're doing it.
That's true. It's true. But you know what? Now I go to the court, and I'm in. Well, I'm not gonna tell my age, but I'm up there, and so I think back to when I used to go to court. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was something like Legally Blonde. I used to walk in there with that bright hair, platinum form shoes, hot pink suit, and didn't realize I stood out.
I loved it. Well, you stood out to me. That's why I know you.
Yeah, I did.
I love it.
That's why
I love it. There is nothing. Listen, people, there is nothing wrong with standing out. Let me tell you why, JoJo. You didn't respect the brand. I mean, you didn't disrespect the brand. I would have took issue with it, and I would have told you if I felt that you were disrespecting the brand to the point where it was rude to the court system or to the judge, if it was somehow creating a disruption. You were not a disruption. You were just being yourself in a very, I'm not going to say, I don't even want to use the word flashy. I think a very classy way, a very different way. And I do remember the guy that brought me in to consult. Initially, especially, he was like, I don't know about this. Is this okay? I mean, are you okay with it? And I said, I'm okay with it. And I think he thought I was okay with it because I was Mexicano, and he's probably thinking, all these brown people, they stick together. They all. But that wasn't it. I think the real reason is because it wasn't disrespectful to the brand. And because it wasn't disrespectful to the brand, and because it was still, at the end of the day, you were doing what you had to do, and nobody around us ever came to me and says, you know what, Louis, I would have done that for your clients, but because the way JoJo's hair color is, I refuse to give. Nobody ever came and told me that. And so it was always very positive. And I thought your attitude, you know what did it? You know what? I'm going to be honest here. It's not because some people may have looks similar to yours, but maybe not always have the same attitude you did. You had a great attitude and have a great attitude at all times. And that's the difference. You're allowed to be a little bit flamboyant if your personality and attitude is loving, caring, and polite. Now, if you're out there and you just look a certain type of way, but you're saying, "Oh well, you gotta deal with me how I am," blah, 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 and you do that kind of stuff, well, then don't freak out when the world says, "No, we really don't have to deal with you. Goodbye, Bye-bye. But,
Right, exactly.
I've
I
always
realized
enjoyed
that
this.
later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I realized that later on that
So
I was embraced. And
you are.
so that's the hey people, you don't have to always be the black and white. You still can be colorful is how I'll identify that as.
Amen to that. All right. So that's the end of today's show. We got to kick it back to the
It's the end
studio.
already.
Well, they got to do commercials. I mean, they got to get paid, right? They can't have a radio station without commercials. I mean, we can,
Right.
but they got they got that bricks and mortar thing going on. We're in that mobile unit phase where we can do it from anywhere, but they got that bricks and mortar thing going on. Yeah.
They're like, hold up.
Yeah, we got to pay the bills, Lily. So please kick it back to us in the studio. Shaw's over there, doing his thing. So we got to kick it back. Yeah, absolutely. So everybody that was here with the Couch Live today, thank you very much for joining us. Again, we've been on since 1999, and here we are, 25 years later, 26. This is our 26th year. June will be 26 years. We're about to hear 26 years. Thank you for that.
I'm just joking.
I wasn't.
Barely.
Right. So from us here, we got JoJo here, which is at Limitless and Authentic. You can find her there. You can find me at The Dope Doctor on all things of social media. From all of us here on the Couch Live, adios, amigos. It's